Would you help the students to learn today? Help me to be clear in teaching. And I pray that this would be a profitable time and that you would be honored in it. And thank you for the privilege of having this technology that we can do these things. I pray that you would help that to work out well. And we pray this for Jesus' sake. Amen. All right. Well, on the piece of paper that you got out, or please get out a piece of paper, and I would like you on that piece of paper to write the, without looking at anything, if at all, I'd like you to write the consonants out on the piece of paper there, and then you can, the vowels on that are on the song. You don't need to reproduce the whole vowel chart, just the vowels on the song, like beneath X. You can put them by an X. So you can do that.
Do you need the final form on the consonants?
No, I won't ask for that right now. It's a good question, though. It's a good question. So.
You want all the consonants in their pronunciation? You want consonants and their pronunciation?
Just the consonants. You don't need to put the pronunciation down. Don't give me ideas, though. I mean, I can make this more challenging if you want. I'll give you a second to do that. I'll be right back. when you're done, I need an eraser here. When you're done at the bottom, you can say what those 3 words mean too. And that'll be the end. Those are visible on the camera, right, Tim? Are those visible, those words? And if your consonants and vowels didn't have those letters, then you might have been something was missing. I need to get myself an eraser here. You all done? Okay. If you want to look, we're not going to grade this right now, just so you kind of see what you're doing. But you can look either in the textbook, you can look on page Roman numeral 22, 23, where they have the letters there. Or you can look at the chart and see if you got it right. And these, what's that? This is the word house, bayith. This is the word man, ish. That's the word woman, isha. House, man, woman. House, man, woman. So just as a reminder, for each class, if it says lessons like lesson 1 or 2, or next class is 3 through 5, you don't have to have the whole content mastered of the lesson or the exercises for that day, but you have to have read them, and you should know the vocabulary for that lesson. Because the vocabulary, there isn't really that much to explain, it's just words to learn. And one reason I chose these ones, one way that you can learn vocabulary that is a nice way to do it is, especially for words that you can kind of use around your house or whatever, you can actually use them. So if you start calling somebody in your house it, ish, or isha, or you refer to your house as the bayith, then you're going to remember that word. So use it, you keep it, you don't use it, you lose it. So if you get to use it, that will help you to remember those words. And that is a good technique. Like, I learned the word milk, chalav, because I wrote it on my, did I tell you this last time? Yeah, I wrote it on my milk jug. So every time we got the milk out, chalav, there he is. So it's a way to learn words. So, well, this time I probably should tell you, we probably have to, just so that you can endure them, you have to learn some Hebrew alphabet jokes here. So, why were the other letters afraid of Aleph? Do you know? Especially Gimel. Gimel was afraid of Aleph. Well, it's because Aleph bait Gimel, you know. So, Gimel was kind of afraid because he was bitten. Which letter was the most amazing of the letters? Like when that letter was in the room, you were just, wow, yeah, that's right. Which letter, this lady's a nurse, she would know this one. Which letter was not feeling well? Anybody can answer, you know. Well, it's cough, obviously. So, you know. There's one more that I had at least here. Which letter was always making sure that the bills were paid? Bills were kept up, just no debt. Pay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that's good. So there, at least you got through that part, and a few Hebrew alphabet jokes. I have some Greek alphabet jokes too, but that would be a different class. Next time, I would encourage you to be able to write the consonants and vowels in the transliteration also. So you can learn the transliteration from the Lambden or from the chart, but I would encourage you to be ready to write that out as well. Let's go ahead and sing the alphabet song, and then we will, you can crack your textbook here, and we'll get going with that. All right. Aleph, Beth, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Waw, Sayin, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed. Mem, Nun, Samek, Ayin, Pei. Kof, Resh, Tzin. Did I skip one? Did I skip Tzadeh? Oh, better go back. Let's see. I'll just start at the beginning again. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Waw, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed. Mem, Nun, Samek, Ayin, Pei. Tzadek, Kof, Resh, Sin, Shin, Tau. Kametz, Pathak, Tzere, Segol, Hirek. Cholem, Shurek, Kibbutz, Shewa. Very good. Yeah, I don't know why I skipped Sada the Samek in the song. So, but yeah, so it's good. The first year Hebrew teacher that I had said that when this person would go jogging and would just say Aleph, Beth, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, went right for each step when jogging. So I guess that's another way to do it. Do any of you have any questions about the alphabet, about anything you read, anything that you wanted to ask at this point before we go any further? Yes. Yeah, where's the mic?
In the textbook, it talked about the diphthongs, and it gave two different pronunciations for some of them. How do you tell the different pronunciation?
Do you know what page? Can you find it in there? Are you talking about number 4, the consonants known as Begad Kapat?
It's 17 page, Roman numeral 17.
Roman numeral 17. Okay, Roman numeral 17. Sounds and spelling of the page that says metheg on it. Let's see what page you're on. What page is that down there? Oh, I'm looking at 27. Huh, no wonder I can't find it. 17. Yeah, okay. Were the pronunciation of the vowels there? That would just be, when you get the syllables now, whether it's an open or closed syllable, that's pretty much going to tell you'll be fine with it. It won't be a problem really, I would say. So it's a longer sound if it's open generally, and if it's a closed syllable, it's generally shorter. But I haven't found that to be a problem at all with students getting it. So I would I would think about that, but I wouldn't even really worry about it that much. Any other questions at this point? All right. Okay. Well, take a look at lesson number 1. And with 1, it says read 1 through 3, the section sounds and spelling. We're not going to go back there right now because I really think we're going to touch on it a little bit later. But again, I think the way that he does it is kind of confusing with it's interesting. Williamson, at the beginning, he actually says he tries to follow Lambden in his preface, but he says that he thinks that Lambden's the best teaching grammar available, but he doesn't necessarily like the whole way he does that first part either, so, which is fine. We have enough resources to help us get it through. Okay, so you can go to page 3, and you'll see there Hebrew nouns are either masculine or feminine, practically all of them. And if you have an animate being, a person, a fish, or a horse, generally the grammatical gender corresponds to the natural gender, but otherwise there's not a clear correlation. So with like the word har, mountain, that's masculine, while givah is feminine, hill. So why is that? Just how it is. Now, he then says there are some formal indications of gender. Nouns ending in a, eth, and at are nearly always feminine. And so there you have the examples. Malka, so that's the first example that if you don't have the transliteration down yet, the a, that's like Malka, the first one. Da'ath, knowledge, that's another, that's actually the third one, the ath. Bath, feminine, tif, ereth, so there's an eth, that's the second one, glory. So nouns ending in a, ath, and eth are nearly always feminine, and so that's helpful. While nouns without that are usually masculine. Now there are some exceptions, but you want to get that general pattern down. The a, the eth, and the ath feminine usually, and the rest of them normally masculine. With each vocabulary word, you do need to learn it because there are some exceptions. Like Evan doesn't have any of those endings, nor does ear, nor does eretz, but they are feminine. Do you guys all have the book? No. No? Do you know, can you have the photocopy?
Yeah, but it's going to run out pretty soon. Somebody's ordering the book for me. It's not here yet.
Okay, okay.
So I just have a little bit of photocopy.
Do you want to maybe, one of you want to sit by her so you can kind of follow along? That'd be good. Okay. Lydia will join you back there.
I've got lesson 1.
Good, good. But we're going to do 1 and 2, so.
That should be okay.
Yeah. So, do you have 2 there too?
No, 2 I'm not going to have.
2? Okay, yeah. So, yeah, you can go there. Okay, so that's the gender. So you want to learn the gender for each noun. Now, in the vocabulary, if the noun ends in a, eth, or ath, it's feminine, and if it doesn't, it's masculine unless he tells you otherwise. So when you're looking at vocabulary, if it doesn't, it's like on ish, or ish rather, if it doesn't say anything, you know, well, right here. Here's the word ish. Is this word masculine or feminine? And then use the mic.
Masculine,
Why?
because it's ish, man.
That's one reason. That is one reason, yes. Is there another reason? What if you just had, you didn't know what this meant, you just saw this.
The ending is not.
Good. No a, eth, or a. Good. So this is masculine. How about isha? Masculine, feminine. Feminine? Okay. Why is this feminine?
Ends in
Ah. Yeah. So it has the ah, so that tells you it's feminine. So these ones wouldn't have any notation in the vocabulary because they fit that general pattern. So you can see on the top of page 4 that if there's no annotation, then it's going to be whatever you would expect it to be. While if there is an annotation, then it's different. So eretz, for example, is feminine. You would expect it to be earth there, eretz, earth. You'd expect it to be masculine because it doesn't have the a, the eth, or the a, but it's feminine because it just is. And then derek, the word way, that can be either masculine or feminine. That's a very small class of words that can do that. So you should learn the gender when you learn the vocabulary word. Then we have number. Hebrew nouns can be either singular, dual, or plural. The dual is a pretty small category. Then obviously singular or plural is practically every word can be singular or plural. The dual and plural have special endings, but the singular doesn't. If you look at the 2 examples of, well, we're going to get there, of the dual, we're not going to talk about the dual until a lot later, but just notice there that it has the an ayim ending, pathak, yod, hirek, maim. So ya, thayim, and then yo, mayim. So that's the dual ending, ayim. But that's all we're going to say about the dual right now. We're not going to talk about it until a lot later, Lord willing. The plural has endings of eem and oath. So the masculine ending is eem. Eem, that's the masculine ending. And then the feminine ending is oath. So that's the masculine plural. That's the feminine plural ending. Now, sometimes when you add the endings, things change in the form of the word. You don't always just stick the ending on and everything in the front of the word stays the same. Sometimes the front of the word changes. And there are certain rules that those go by that account for many of the changes. And so we're going to learn those rules too, and those will be very helpful to you. So now, most feminine nouns have this plural oath, and most masculine nouns have this plural eem. Again, there are certain exceptions. For example, he gives you the examples there on page 4. Of, the word father, which is a masculine word, has the plural of avoth, the feminine, normal feminine one, but that would be fathers. Or isha, woman, the plural is irregular, but it's nashim with an eem ending. Now, even if an irregular word like that, like there, the word isha takes that masculine, the normal masculine plural, it's still a feminine noun. So whatever ending it takes doesn't change the gender of the word. This is a good guide to know whether it's masculine or feminine, but it doesn't change whatever it is, whichever ending it takes. This is the normal masculine, this is the normal feminine, but even if it's an exception, it's still whatever its gender is. The gender does not change.
Why is there an exception?
Can you explain the exception?
Just certain words just do. It's like in English, some words are just weird. So some words, the exception is you might have a feminine noun that takes an eem or a masculine noun that takes an oath. There's no way that you could kind of know in advance. It just, some words do that. It's like...
Does it have anything to do with the consonants of the letter, of the word?
Not necessarily. No. It's, I mean, again, with the endings, the other stuff can change with the word, but some words just take an irregular ending. And there isn't really much more that can, it's like in English. Sometimes things in English are just chaotic. And so, like that, you know, we say chaotic. Well, why isn't it chaotic, you know? Just because that's how you say it in English. But, so there's it just in Hebrew, sometimes they just do. So. And he introduces a few, and oftentimes some of the more frequent words are the more irregular. Like think of the verb to be in English. It has all these weird things. Some of the more frequent words tend to be more irregular. So he's going to introduce in the vocabulary, in the vocabulary, he's tending to introduce the more frequent words at the beginning, which makes a lot of sense. And some of those are the regular ones too. So there are certain patterns and types, but you don't need to worry about those at this point. Okay, any other questions about the number here? Let's talk about the article on page 5. He calls the Hebrew article the definite article, and that's fine. You can just call it the article because there's no indefinite article. What's the English definite article? Oh, okay, wrong. The, yeah, you give her the mic later. The is the definite, and what's the indefinite? A or an, yeah. Now, Hebrew has just one article, hey. And so there is no indefinite article, so that's why you can just call it the article, because there's no indefinite article. Again, if you want to call it the definite article, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But if you want, you can just call it the article, because there is no indefinite article. The basic form of the article is hey, with a pathak underneath, and then a dagesh forte, the doubling of the next consonant. So when you add, if you change, well, let's show some examples here. But this is the basic form of the article. Hey, pathak, next consonant gets dagesh. And you stick it right on the word. So if you look at the example there, you have bayith, a house, and then you stick the article on the front, hey, pathak, and then the bayith had a dagesh in it already. It's actually a dagesh leni, but it gets a dagesh forte. So it's hey, pathak plus a dagesh forte, and it becomes the house. We're going to talk about the dageshes. We're going to go back and look at those in a second too, so if you aren't sure what I'm talking about yet, that's fine. Na'ar there, youth, han-na'ar, so there, hey, pathak plus doubling the next consonant. Notice in the transliteration, what do you notice, and then I'll point out that in a second. Melech, king, a king, ha-melech, the king. So hey, pathak, doubling the next consonant. In the transliteration, what do you notice about the difference between in bayith, na'ar, and melech? What do you notice about the first consonant before you stick the article on the front? In the transliteration, there's a letter that gets.
Has a little sideways.
Here, give her the thing. Who has the microphone?
It has a little accent.
Well, yeah, the accent actually is just that's the pronunciation. So yes, there is, you have that little pronunciation thing. But look at the letter B, the transliteration B in bayith. What's the difference between a house and the house in the transliteration?
Oh, it adds an extra letter.
Yes, notice there's two B's in the house. Bayith, ha-bayith. In na'ar and ha-na'ar, what's the difference between in the N?
Two N's.
Two N's. And same thing with melech and ha-melech, two M's. That's doubling. That's this, in this dagesh, which we're going to go back and look at. That's the dagesh forte, the doubling of the next consonant. So the article is hey, pathak, next consonant doubled. And in Hebrew, the way you say the next consonant is doubled is you put this dagesh forte inside, which in the transliteration shows up as two of the letter. And again, we're going to go back to, if you aren't like dagesh forte, what are you talking about? We're going to be looking at that just in a second. And there's no indefinite article. So if a word doesn't have the article on the front, it could be either house or a house, either one. And the article also is used to express the vocative. So he gives the example there, ha-melech could also be O king. You're speaking to the king as well as the king. That's not super common, but it does take place. Actually, before we go any further, let's go back and look at this thing with a dagesh. So go back to the front, the sounds and spelling. And he talks about, where does he talk about the dagesh here? Dagesh, okay. Yeah, Roman numeral 19. He talks about it there some. Yeah, this is on 24. Go to Roman numeral 24. This dot inside certain of the letters, like Baith, this dot in the middle is called the dagesh. So Roman numeral 24. You all in Roman numeral 24? So that dot is called the dagesh. This dot can only be inside certain of the letters, which we're going to talk about as well in a second. In some situations, okay, look at your Hebrew alphabet chart. And on the Hebrew alphabet chart, notice that you have some letters that where you have two forms. Like, what's the first one that has two forms on the alphabet chart? One with a Dagesh inside and one without. Beth. Though Aleph does not. Aleph is, you can't put a Dagesh, but Beth. So Beth you have with a Dagesh inside is Ba, and then without it, it's Va. Okay, so Ba, and then Va. What's the next one? Gimel. 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 Beth Gimel and the Daleth. And there's three more. What are the last three? Kof, good. Pei, yes. Tau, good. Those six are called the Begad Kapat. It's a way to remember it. It's the Begad Kapat. You just stick some vowels in, and you have those letters. So the Begad Kapat. Those six consonants can take Dagesh and change the pronunciation when they do. When the Dagesh is simply indicating the pronunciation change, Ba versus Va, that's called a Dagesh Lene, or a weak Dagesh. The weak Dagesh is simply saying it's Ba versus Va. So in transliteration, if this is a Dagesh Lene, it would just be B, and that's it. Okay? If it's a Dagesh Forte, in music, remember, forte is loud, right? So it's strong Dagesh. So the Dagesh Forte, the strong Dagesh, that means the consonant is doubled. So if this is a Dagesh Forte, then it's BB, not just B. So you pronounce it the same, but it's a little bit longer. So Dagesh Forte, 2. Dagesh Lene is just B versus V. And so the article, when you put the article on the front of a word, the form is He, Pathak, and a strong Dagesh, doubling of the next consonant. So whatever the next consonant is, in the transliteration, there will be 2. He, Pathak, doubling of the next consonant is Dagesh Forte. So that's how that works. Questions about that? Soon, all this like alphabet type stuff will be second nature to you. If it's not now, that's okay. You'll get there. Go back to lesson 1 and go to page 5, prepositions. There are 3 types of prepositions in Hebrew. You have ones that are stuck right on the front of the word and written as part of the word. And those are the 3 most probably the most common ones. Beit, Lameth, and Kaf. Ba is in, la is to or for, ka is like. And those are very, very common prepositions. So we have Melech there, a king. If you want to say in a king, you say ba Melech. You have king, Melech. You want to say to a king, you say la Melech. You want to say like a king, ka Melech. So if you're a lady and you see your husband comes out and he's dressed really nice, you can say that he's dressed ka Melech. He's dressed like a king, and he will like that, I'm sure. Now, when the noun is determined by the definite article, the prepositions combined with the article into a single syllable having the same vowel of the article. So there, Melech is king, Ha-Melech, the king. Now, you would think that in the king would be Ba-Ha-Melech. You kind of take the Beth and you have the He too. But for these 3 prepositions, it kind of eats up the article. So you have Ba-Melech is in the king, La-Melech is to the king, and Ka-Melech is like the king. You say, well, if there's no hey, how do I know that that's like the king, to the king, and in the king, versus in a king, to a king, and like a king? How do I know it's definite when the hey is gone? Well, look at the vowels for the ones right above there, in a king, to a king, and like a king, and then those ones there where it's in the king, to the king, and like the king, and tell me, what's the difference? How do you know that it's the versus a? There on page 5. Oh, give her the mic.
The second letter from the left is different.
Okay, what's the difference? What does it have inside? Yeah, it's got the dagesh. So one, when it's the dagesh is still there. So the hay got eaten up, but the dagesh is still there. And there's something else too. Good, that's good. Good job. So like notice, Ba-Melech, there's no dagesh inside the meme. There's no dot in the meme. It's just with nothing inside. While in Ba-Melech, there's the dot inside, the dagesh forte. And look at the vowel underneath the preposition. What is the vowel in to a king versus to the king? What's the difference?
The Shawa is into a king.
Good, good. It's a king has the shawat. What does the king have?
Pata.
Pathak.
Pata.
So the hey, when you stick the prepositions ba, ka, or la on the front, the hey goes away, but you still have the pathak and you still have the dagesh forte. So it's still actually not that hard to tell because you still have the vowel this, even though the hey is gone. And this hey disappearing act only was with these 3 prepositions. It doesn't do the Houdini super like all the time. The hey, where'd it go? So it actually stays there, and you're fine. So, but those are very common prepositions. Well, think about how you use them in English. You use them in English a lot as well. So you have those, that type of preposition, which is basically those 3. And then you have ones that are normally connected with the following word with a line called a makef. That little line, like after it says, among these are el, al, and min. And after the letters, there's that line. That's the makef. And if you're writing it, you just write a line. So al habayeth. Al means on, so that would be on the house. And you can see there's that line, the makef, between the al and the habayeth. To the house, el habayeth. From the house, min habayeth. The makef, basically what it does is it connects the 2 words together so that they're considered like one word, basically. So the word before the makef is proclitic. It means it doesn't have its own stress. So there's no, if you're reading the Bible, there's no accent on the word before the makef. It's just considered one word there. So it ties the preposition. It's not tied as closely together as Beth, Kaf, or Lamed, where it's actually the one word, but it's tied closely together. And then the third group, and after we're going to take a break very, very soon here. The third group is just a preposition written as a separate word. Eitzel is the word near, habayeth, near the house. Eitzel habayeth. And there you just have a preposition and the word afterwards. Before the people, on the top of the next page. Neged ha'am. So, that third type on occasion can have a makef optionally, but just notice whatever Lambden does, and you don't need to worry about it that much. Okay, we will take a break at that point, and we will resume here at 5 after the hour. hour here. Let's finish what he was going to say on lesson 1 there. So number 16, page 6. This is the only kind of sentence you're going to be able to say at this point. If you have a juxtaposed noun and a prepositional phrase, that can there can be an implied verb there. So, Hana'ar babayeth. Hana'ar, the young man, babayeth is in the house. And even though there's no explicit is, the is implied. That would be a sentence. If that sentence were in the King James, it would have an italicized is, because the is required, but it's not explicitly there. That's an example where you have those italicized words. Of course, in the King James, the italicized words are the words that they supply in the translation but are in the underlying language. So you don't need to italicize words in your translations. It might be not be a bad idea to put them in brackets, though, or something. On homework, you can just put an italicized word you're putting in brackets if you need to supply it in the translation. So normally, if you just have an isolated sentence, you're going to supply the present tense, is. But depending on the context in a paragraph or whatever, it could be was or will be or something like that. So that's how that works. Another example, there you have Aye Hana'ar. Where is the young man? The implied again. That's first sentence, Hana'ar babayeth. How do you know that it's the young man and not a young man?
Because of the...
Oh, wait, who has the microphone?
Because of the hey dagash.
Good. Hey dagash and the doubling of the next consonant. Hana'ar. Good. In babayeth, how do you know it's in the house versus in a house?
Same.
Yeah. Well, where's the hey? There's no hey, so obviously it can't be the. The hay got eaten up by the baith. Remember that the prepositions in, the ba, la, and ka. There, it takes it, just eats it up. But you still have the pathak underneath the baith, the first baith, and the doubling, the dagash forte in the second baith. Babayeth. There, notice the first dagash in babayeth is a dagash lene. Thus, in the transliteration, there's only one b. The second baith in babayeth is a dagash forte. Thus, there's two b's. That's why it's B-A-B-B-A-Y-I-T. Babayeth. So, dagash lene and a dagash forte. Weak dagash, strong dagash. Lord willing, after we finish the lessons 1 and 2 here, we're going to have a little bit of time where we'll be able to work on some of the homework, and that will be good. I'm not going to just read the vocabulary words because you can read them, and that's not that hard to do. The prepositions, like you notice the preposition al, on, upon, against, concerning, because of, you're thinking over, like, wow, there's a lot of meanings for this preposition. Well, just like in English, prepositions are used a lot, so they have a wide range of meaning. And it's a common preposition, so you do want to actually get it down. All right, let's go to lesson, well, actually, let's go back to the beginning, that introductory section. We're going to review a few things here. 1 through 3, again, I'm not going to talk more about the labio-interdental and all that stuff. If you've studied linguistics and it helps you, then I think that's really great. We're not going to say much about it at this point in time. Syllables on the top of Roman numeral 18. There are 2 types of syllables. I think we talked about that last class, didn't we? Did we talk about it last class, 2 types of syllables, open and closed? Did we? You don't remember? Okay, better talk about it now. Okay. If you don't remember, then it's almost like we didn't talk about it. So, each syllable is always a consonant followed by at least one vowel. And an open syllable is, oh wow, an eraser, that's a blessing. An open syllable is consonant vowel. A closed syllable is consonant vowel consonant. So consonant vowel, consonant vowel consonant. Open versus closed syllable. And a doubled consonant, a consonant with a dogish forte, you always divide the syllable in the middle. So I think we did talk about this last time, but if you look at the example, this is just transliteration, but look at devarim, the word words in the plural, the third one down on lesson 2 there. The first syllable is de, consonant vowel. The next one is var, consonant vowel, or excuse me, the next one is ba, va, consonant vowel. And the last one is reem, consonant vowel consonant. So in devarim, tell me which syllables are open and which syllables are closed.
De and ba are open, reem is closed.
Good, good. That's good, devarim. And so that's how that works. Stress. So we've got a lot of that right now. Well, that's not the kind of stress we're talking about. We're talking about the words here. Words stressed on the last syllable, which is the normal one, the last syllable is called the ultima. So the ultimate, the last or whatever. And the next one is called the penultima, the one before the last. And so most words, if there's no indication in the vocabulary of which syllable is stressed, then the ultima is stressed. The last syllable is always the stressed syllable unless he tells you otherwise. So that's why it's devarim, not devarim or devarim. It's devarim. So most words, last syllable is the one that has the stress. And so he says they are only penultimate stressfully marked in the book. Otherwise, he's not going to tell you. And the stressed syllable is often called the tonic syllable. So that's just the you want to learn that. And the syllable before the stressed syllable is the pre-tonic. And the one before the pre-tonic is the pro-pre-tonic, the before the pre-tonic. Now let's talk about the begad kapak consonants there in number 4. Sometimes, I kind of switch between the Jewish and the biblical sound for some of these. Like I might say, for Daleth, I might say Daleth or I might say Dalet. So just, I don't know, you can keep that in mind. So these are the 6 ones we mentioned that you saw on the alphabet chart. And these ones have certain special rules. When they have a dogesh lene inside, they are called stops. So the ones with the dogesh lene are called stops. The ones without the dogesh lene, the begad kapat, those are called spirants. Yeah, I don't know. I have a red and a purple. Is the purple easier to see than the red? Let's see, this one. I think this red is a better red than that red. Does it show up on the camera?
The second one does.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to try, I'll have to remember, I'm going to put these ones over on the side, and I'll use this one here. So the ones with a dot, the dogesh lene, are stops. Without the dogesh, it's a spirant. The stops, when you say them, like ba, just stops. Ga, stops. Tau, ta, stops. The spirant, the sound goes on a little bit more. So, va. You can keep saying v, but you can't keep saying b. It just doesn't come out. Or tau, the last one, ta, is the stop. Spirant is th. You can keep saying th, but you can't keep saying t. Doesn't work. So stops and spirants. Now, only the stops, only the ones with only the stops can be doubled. So if you see tau without a dogesh inside, this is always going to be only one letter in the transliteration. Or I'll just use baith here. So this is always going to just be a 1B here. And then you write the transliteration for not having that inside. But with the baith, this could be B or doubled. It could either be a Dagesh forte or a Dagesh lene, depending upon what we're going to find out a bit later here. So only the stops occur doubled. Roman numeral 19, he tells you that. Now, now that's one thing. Now, excluding the Dagesh forte, when we're not talking about that doubling, when do you have the stop and when do you have the spirant? You'll only have the stops at the beginning of a syllable when immediately preceded by another consonant. So that's when you have the Dagesh lene, beginning of a syllable, and there's a consonant before it. So let's say you have the word Nahar here. Nahar, river. Okay? And then the next word is Bayith. Okay, so here's the first letter of the next word. You have Nahar, and then here is Bayith. Right? This Bayith, tell me whether it should this be, would you expect a stop with a Dagesh lene inside, or would you expect a spirant without a Dagesh lene inside, based upon the last letter of the preceding word? It would be a stop, because this is a consonant. So this, like he says there on 19, the stops occur only at the beginning of a syllable when immediately preceded by another consonant. This is the beginning of a syllable. There's a consonant right before it. So, Bayith. Nahar babayith. Not vabayith. Now let's say this was some other word and it ended in a shurek. If this ended in the vowel shurek, then it would be whatever that word is, vayith. Because now it's preceded by a vowel right in front of it. So if there's a vowel right in front, spirit. But if it's the beginning of a syllable preceded by another consonant, then it's the stop. Nahar, you wouldn't have an u on nahar like that, but whatever, some other word. So nahar bayith is what you would expect there. So that's when, everywhere else except the beginning of a syllable, when immediately preceded by a consonant, you have the stop. And so that means, like he explains in B, that by process of elimination, you typically have a spirant mainly at the close of a syllable. Like here, bayith. Why is this kind of leaning over tau? Why is that a spirant and not a stop? Why is it bayith and not bayit? Yeah, well, one, there's a vowel right before it, a hirek, yeth. That's one reason. Good. And it's at the end of a syllable, ba-yith. One syllable, second syllable. So it's the end of a syllable, end of a word, so spirant. So the spirants occur mainly at the close of a syllable or at the beginning of a syllable when the preceding sound is a vowel. Now, when the word is in isolation, like in the vocabulary, since if you had the word house in the vocabulary, it's bayith because it's just an isolated word at the beginning of a syllable, like that. But when you combine it with something, it can become vayith. So he says, be sure the following examples are clear. Bayith, and here I think it'd be kind of nice if you put the Hebrew letters in instead of just the transliteration, but he hasn't introduced them yet. But bayith here on Roman numeral 19, but then he says ka-vayith. So here, you just have house on its own, it's bayith. Then you stick on the front like a house, so now it's ka. Because there's a vowel here, shawa, preceding this, it now becomes kavayith. Because now there's a vowel in front of it instead of nothing or a consonant. Now the ka, this is also a letter that is begad kapat. It is a stop because there's nothing in front of it. It's at the beginning of a syllable, so it's ka. But now, because this has a vowel in front of it, it's kavayeth. So if you remember the rule for the stop, stops are only at the beginning of a syllable when immediately preceded by another consonant, then the rest of it kind of works itself out. If you just remember that, then it's a aspirant every other time. He says at the bottom of that, on number 4, he says that you should regard the ga and the ga as two distinct sounds. Modern Jews would pronounce them exactly the same, whether it's a stop or a aspirant, but for pedagogical purposes, we are going to try to pronounce them a little bit differently, just so that, as we're saying, we know whether it's ga or ga. Except if you're in Yemen. In Yemen, it may be different. But most Jews, if you're in Israel, they're going to pronounce them the same. Questions about the Bagad Kafat consonants? So just remember that it's a stop at the beginning of a syllable when immediately preceded by another consonant.
So the bait is preceded by shawah with the syllable.
Well, here, give him the mic there.
So with the preposition, you have the kaf and the shawah, and the shawah makes it
Yep.
a spirit.
Yep, because this is a vowel. It's a vocal shawah. Pronounce it. So this is ka vayeth because of the vowel. Yep. That's exactly right. Good. We're going to talk here about vowel reduction. At first, I don't think this is really too bad, but if it seems kind of crazy, it will actually save you a lot of time if you get this down. Because remember he said when you stick the endings, the eem and the oath, the plural endings, it can change what's going on with the vowels inside the word. Well, if you just had to learn it for every single vocabulary word, what the changes were, that's a lot of work. But here's a few rules that account for tons and tons and tons of the examples. So you learn the rule, and you've kind of got lots of the changes right there because they follow these rules. And these rules will show up all the time. So it's important to learn these rules. Now, these rules, he says there at number 5, many of the changes that characterize Hebrew inflections follow distinct and predictable patterns. And that's a blessing. Of which the most consistent is that of vowel reduction. And here, the first type of reduction, the vowels, what are those vowels? What are the transliteration there? That A with a line over it and the E with a line over it. You guys know yet? I kind of wish he actually had the vowel, but oh well. Comets is the first one. Good.
Komets and Sere.
Seire.
Sere.
Comets and seire. Good. So the vowels comets and seire are regularly reduced to schwa, that's the upside down E, in open propretonic syllable. Open syllable is, remember, consonant vowel, closed syllable, consonant vowel, consonant. So comets and seire change to schwa in an open syllable that's propretonic. And remember, propretonic is, the tonic is the one with a accent, pretonic before the accent, propretonic 2 before the accent. So he's saying a comets or a seire, if it's in an open syllable that's 2 before the accent, it changes into schwa. I'll give you an example here. So you have the word there, makom. So here is ma. That should be a maim. It is a maim, it's just hard to read a maim. So makom. So there's makom. Now we're going to make a plural. Make it into makom oath. So the final maim is going to change into a normal maim. Makom. And there's the plural ending, oath. All right, there's makom oath. Now, let's divide this word into syllables. Can somebody tell me what the first syllable of this word is? Ma. What's the next syllable? Ko. Actually, no, it's comb. Ma, comb. Makomoth. No, that's right. Makomoth, yeah. That's how it is. Makomoth. So that's the word divided into syllables there. Now, the tonic syllable, the accented syllable, is the oath, the last one. So this is the pretonic and this is the propretonic. Now, what is the vowel on this propretonic syllable? Comments. Now, the rule of the propretonic reduction is you can't have a comments in a propretonic syllable. So this comments goes away and becomes schwa. Makomoth. So when you had the word makom, when it became plural, now you have this extra syllable at the end, making the first syllable a propretonic. So makom changes into makomoth. Another example, you have zakane. That's one of your vocabulary words for this lesson here. I think it's lesson 1, yeah. So here's the word zakane. Zakane. Old man. Zakane, and we're going to say, instead of just one old man, now we have a bunch of them. Zakaneem. So zake, so you stick an eem on the end. Oh, I'm going to get this makomoth to go away. Zakaneem. Now, what are the syllables in this word here? Right now I just stuck the eem, the plural ending on. So the syllables are zakaneem. Oh, but now we have a comments in a propretonic syllable. Because here's eem, zakaneem. So this comments goes away and becomes schwa. Zakaneem. So zakane, old man, zakaneem with a schwa. Propretonic reduction. This regularly happens with nouns and adjectives when you stick a plural ending on it. This propretonic reduction happens all the time. So it'll become second nature to you, this propretonic reduction. And the sooner that happens, the better. Now I tell you what, isn't that easier to remember that rule than trying to see every single time you have a noun and think this is irregular? This is much easier. Then you have another type of reduction. That's a pretonic reduction. That's the syllable before it. The pretonic reduction is a comments or a tsere in a pretonic open syllable. And there that goes the schwa. Now this often happens in nouns where the first syllable can't get reduced. It has a vowel, a long vowel that doesn't change, or it's a closed syllable. And the pretonic syllable has a tsere. So shofet plus eem becomes shofetim, the schwa. And in verb forms, this happens regularly, and we don't, you don't know any verbs yet, but that happens pretty. Actually, you know what? I'll show you an example with that over here. Let's go to. I won't worry about that right now. But that's the second type of reduction. In a pretonic syllable, you can have the comments or the tsere reduced. And those are the two most common patterns. Now, you can't necessarily know which pattern will be followed, but there aren't too many situations where it's kind of like it can go either way. But if there is, you may not necessarily know. But one of those two is going to happen. So you're not going to have that comments or tsere in the open propretonic syllable. So you have propretonic reduction and pretonic reduction. Then you have the rule of schwa. And the rule of schwa is that two syllables in a row with a schwa underneath them like that, that is not tolerable. you aren't supposed to have two schwas in a row. So if endings or different things happen where you would, the two schwas in a row change to okay, these are two audible schwas. Remember that schwa, this is important to explain. Schwa can either be the very short E sound, and if this is an open syllable, this is a, let's put, I don't know, Baith here. This is B, okay? Now, at the end of a closed syllable, consonant, vowel, consonant, you also put a schwa underneath the second letter. So let's say this was one syllable here, okay? You're going to put a schwa underneath. Let's say this has a HEREC or something. At the end of a closed syllable, you also will put a schwa underneath there, but it's a silent schwa. So it's kind of treated as if it doesn't exist. So if you have two audible schwas in a row, that's not acceptable. And the two audible schwas in a row change to a HEREC, and then this becomes a silent schwa, because this is now a closed syllable. So instead of open syllable with schwa, open syllable with schwa, it becomes one syllable, one closed syllable of consonant, vowel, consonant, and then that's just a silent schwa underneath it. So he gives you the example there of Navi, the word prophet. Does he give you prophet in there? But anyway, so you stick the word Navi, the first syllable of it has a schwa underneath it. So here's the word, and I'm just going to write the noon. So here's the first letter of the word Navi, and it begins with noon schwa. Navi. Oh, let's write the whole thing. No. And so this is, the next syllable is whatever. So here, now let's say you want to say to a prophet. So to is lamed schwa. So this would be to a prophet, but you can't have schwa schwa. So now instead of la navi, it becomes lin v, and you still have to put something under there, so it still actually has a schwa, but it's a silent schwa now. So la navi with audible schwa, it's not acceptable. It becomes HEREC, lin, one syllable, lin v. As you use this, it will seem less kind of crazy. Do you have questions about number 5 there? This is still kind of that hump part where you're learning all this, the letters and the sounds and stuff. So that's, okay. Let's actually, before we do number 6, we're going to talk about number 6 there too, but let's go back to lesson 2. Change of pace here for a second. Lesson 2, definite article. This is a shorter lesson than lesson 1. Oftentimes there's lessons that are longer and shorter to kind of compensate for each other. So page 8, definite article here. What's the normal form of the definite article that we've seen already? Is the microphone near you?
Hair.
So tell me, what should I write up here?
Ke.
I write hey.
A. And Pathak.
And one more thing.
Dagash.
Dagesh forte. Good. That's the normal form of the definite article. Hey, pathak, doubling the next consonant. Dagesh forte. Now, the guttural consonants are those four that are listed in parentheses on 8, aleph, ayin, hey, and cheth. Those gutturals and the letter resh. Resh isn't strictly a guttural, but it does the same thing in this situation. So aleph, ayin, hey, cheth, and resh. Before those, the definite article has a slightly different form. The reason why is those 5 cannot take a dagesh inside. You're not going to see a dagesh inside of an aleph, an ayin, a hey, a cheth, or a resh. They just don't do it. So, because you can't put the dagesh inside, it changes the form of the definite article. So before aleph and resh, normally, so let's say you want to stick you have some word beginning with aleph, okay? And so you want to make the word definite. Well, you would have hey, so hey, pathak. Well, it can't take you can't put the dagesh inside because aleph will not allow you. It does not want to have a dagesh. So what do? Well, what happens with aleph and resh is this short vowel pathak becomes the longer vowel komets. So the form of the article, instead of being hey, pathak plus doubling, it becomes ha. And it does that before aleph and before resh. You can kind of think of it, this is not the technical thing that happens, as if the dot bounces out and goes down here. Like, bing, it gets rejected and it goes down here. Now, that's not the technical thing that happens. Basically, it's like the doubling makes the next consonant sound longer. Like, if this is BB, it says like habayeth. It's a longer sound. So since this can't have that longer sound, the vowel gets longer. Ha to ha. Or you can remember the less technical, that it rejects it and it goes to the bottom. So aleph and resh, that's what happens. Before ayin, normally the same thing happens. Normally before ayin, you also have the article as hey, comets. But, exception, if the ayin is followed by an unaccented comets, then it becomes hey with a segol. So there you have this example there. Ear, the word city. A city becomes ha ear because the ayin can't get the dagesh. So ear, city becomes ha ear. But arim has a comets underneath it already, cities, and it's not accented. So it becomes he arim, not ha arim. Because before ayin, the unaccented comets becomes hey segol. And afar, dust, he afar. And then, before hey and cheth, what happens? Before hey and cheth, normally so let's say here's a word beginning with a cheth. Okay? So the normal form again is hey, pathak plus doubling. Well, the hey and the cheth don't want to get doubled either. And they don't like, and the article doesn't get the change to comets too, so it's like hey, pathak, and it's like there's an imaginary dagesh inside. So it just is this with no dagesh, normally. So hey and cheth, it's normally just hey, pathak with no doubling. But if the hey is followed by an unaccented comets, or the cheth is followed by an accented or unaccented comets, then it becomes hey segol. So heikal, a palace, ha-heikal, with just hey pathak. Cherev, a sword, ha-cherev. But then you have chakam, a wise man, with the comets there, becomes he-chakam, not ha-hakam. I think that it was just too many comets in a row. Harim, ha-arim. You say, boy, this seems like all this different stuff for the definite article. Learning it now, it's like, well, why can't we just consider them all as exceptions? If you remember the basic form, that's the main thing is to remember it's hey, pathak was doubling. But getting this down will help you because you'll actually know what's going on with all the words when this happens. So it is a good thing to know these ones for these forms as well. Now, so that's what those 5 constants do. So before the aleph, the ayin, the hey, and the cheth, and the resh, Hay comets or hay pathak in those situations. On the top of page 9, the Baith, the Lamed, and the Kaf. Remember, when those are stuck on a noun with a definite article, they replace the hay. Now, they replace the hay even when this different form of the article is going on. So there you have ha-ish, the man. Now, why isn't it hay pathak plus doubling on ish? Because aleph doesn't want to get doubled. So the dot bounces out and it goes to the bottom there. Ha-ish, the man. Well, if you say to the man, again, the lamed replaces the hay, and you just have la-ish, to the man. I think one thing that may help you remember C, 18C on the previous page, is the hay and the haith, where there's no doubling. That's the ones that look like the article. Hay and haith both look like the article hay. So the ones that look like it, those two, there's no doubling when it's following right afterwards. While the other guttural letters, the aleph, the ayin, and then the resh, there you have that doubling, that the hay pathak doubling goes to hay comets. While the hay and the haith, where it looks like the hay of the article, virtual doubling, no doubling. Okay. Questions about that? I don't think that's complicated. I think it's just consider stuff like that like a vocabulary word. Each of those different rules, it's like something to learn just like a vocabulary. Actually, the rule is more important than learning a particular vocabulary word because it's going to come up a lot more than one particular word. So those things are just things to memorize, just like a vocabulary word. Until you get it down and you're doing it over and over again, and then you'll actually get used to it again. Noun plurals, last thing we have to learn today. What a blessing, hey? Well, actually this and then one more thing in the front part. So there you have a set of nouns. So there you have bakor, firstborn, plural bakorim, chalom, a dream, chalomoth, dream. In a little quick review here. So bakor, bakorim, is that a masculine or a feminine word? Bakor, bakorim. Masculine, because why? Yeah. One, it has the im plural, and then the singular, you'd expect it to be masculine because it doesn't have those feminine, those three ones for the feminine, the the eth, those three in lesson 1. Now, chalom, you may be a little bit confused about that, and it would just tell you the vocab, because chalom looks masculine in the singular, but then it takes this feminine chalomoth. So then you would just say, well, what's this? And he would tell you the vocabulary. Now there, notice in the plural of those two words, nothing changes from the singular to the plural. You just stick the ending on. Bakor, bakorim, you just stick the ending on, nothing changes in the vowels. Shalom, kalamoth, nothing changes in the vowels, just stick the ending on. Now with davar, davar changes to varim. The first comets changes to a shawah. Zakain changes to zakainim. The comets underneath the zayin goes to a shawah. Makom changes to makomoth. Again, the comets changes to a shawah. Why does that happen? We actually just learned about this in that front section, number 5. Why in all those plurals does the comets underneath the first syllable change to a shawah? Good, propretonic reduction. Once you stick the ending on, it's 3 syllables to the front, and it goes away. So the comets can't be up there anymore, so it goes away. So those are 3 examples of propretonic reduction. In the first 2 examples, the bakor and the chalom, you don't have a comets, you just have a shawah or a hatef pathak up there in the front. So it can't go away. It just stays the way it is. Now, so that's one example of what happens when things get plural. The second one, and this one is actually just a type of noun called a segulate noun, which you don't need to know that yet, but this is just a common pattern here in the last thing we have to learn. Looks like Pastor has to go, which is too bad, because the next time, the whole next hour, we're going to get to review stuff and do homework and get this down better, but that's okay. Okay, second situation there. Melech, king. Malachim, Zevach, Zivakim, Sefer, Sepharim, Na'ar, Na'arim, Eved, Avadim. In those nouns there, each of those nouns in the singular has the stress on the penultima, and it's and the plurals. You don't need to know anything about those singular, and actually you don't really need to. At this point, you may not completely even grasp this, but he's just introducing it now, and he'll explain it more later. But notice in the plurals, all those plurals all have the same type of plural. It's all consonant schwa, consonant comets. So this type of noun, which you don't need to know much about at this point, even though the vowels in the singular all look kind of different, in the plural they all have this form of consonant schwa, consonant comets. With the sole exception of the last one, the servant, and that's because the ayin can't take a schwa, it takes the hatef pathak instead. So that's noun plurals. Now, that's the last thing we have to get down for today, so that's a blessing. Any questions about the stuff here in Lesson 2? It's a little bit hard because you're learning the lessons and you're learning the front part at the same time, but I think you can do it. You do have 2 weeks, so. But you can see you're not going to learn it 5 minutes before class. You're going to have to actually put some time into this to get these things down. At least 10 minutes before. Well, maybe a little bit more than that. Oh, give her the thing.
How come in servant, the ayin has the schwa and the pasak? Or the schwa is right before the pasak?
Oh, that's a hatef pathak. Take a look. Take a look at the vowel chart the scanned vowel chart. Woo! And these ones weren't in the song because they're kind of a combo. But
Okay.
if you look at that vowel chart on the back there,
It's a reduced vowel.
yes, the hatef pathak, the hatef segol, and the hatef comets are basically the same thing as schwa, except they go under certain letters that don't take schwa. Namely, any of you remember which letters take those? The ayin, chei, you're not going to get a schwa underneath them. And so where you would expect a schwa, instead you get a hatef pathak, or in certain situations, hatef segol. He tells you that in here somewhere. I don't remember where he tells you it, but he does tell you that. And I don't remember where, but it's in there somewhere. Yeah, it's pronounced as a short pathak, yeah. Yeah. So on page 9 there, Eved is pronounced avadim, not evadim, avadim. Or if you look down to the vocabulary, ish, man or husband, the plural, the aleph isn't going to, well, actually it's irregular anyway, but the aleph is not going to have a schwa, an audible schwa, and so it becomes hatef pathak, anashim. So, yeah, so these you have on the vowel chart, you have the long vowels with the consonant, those are the maters, that's the consonant with it. Then you just have the simple long vowels. So there's there's kind of a bit, the vowels are a little bit more complicated than just I said on the vowel song. But if you get the vowels on the vowel song, the rest of them kind of are combinations. Like a hirek yod is the vowel hirek with a yod after it. But it's considered one vowel, a hirek yod.
Can you pronounce all the vowels again?
Sure. I will, on the vowel chart, I will go down the columns. So the A, the I, and the E. The vowel chart that I had a scan of. The scanned vowel chart that looks like, I'll come back, then I'll put it in front of the camera, and then it's the one that I say, I do have it on the computer, I have it on the website too. This is the one.
That don't work.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay. If you go to the website, it's
called vowel chart?
I don't know if I have the scan on there. It's not that one, actually. It's the other one. If you go to the website, it says it's the one that's... there's two ones, and it's the second one. It's the one that goes with the song. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to say them going down the columns here. So comets, hey, ah. Comets, ah. Pathak, ah. Hatef, pathak, ah. Just gets shorter each time. Then the tsere, hey, a. Segol, hey, a. Kind of something like that. Tsere, a. Segol, eh.
Wait. Hold on.
Sure.
Say hey.
A. Segol, hey, eh. Eh. Yeah. Eh. Kind of what it sounds like a tsere and a hey, or a segol and a hey.
Okay.
Then you have tsere, a, segol, eh, hatef segol, eh. Tsere yod, a, segol yod, a. Then the next column there, hirek yod, e, hirek, e, hirek, e. Cholam hey, o. Cholam, o. Comets hatuf, u. Or excuse me, not. Cholam, that's like an o, a little bit shorter o. Cholam, o. Comets hatuf, ah. So o versus ah. O, ah. Yeah. Ah. And the hatef comets is also like that, like a ah, short ah. And the shurek, oo, kibbutz, oo, kibbutz, oo. And the shwa is a very short, like e sound, when it's audible. The shwa is audible when it's in an open syllable. When it ends a closed syllable, then if it's underneath the second consonant in a closed syllable, you don't pronounce it at all. So,
I thought the shwa was kind of a
it's just a very, very short, like, it's an upside down E, so think of it like, I guess you think of it as that. So here, let's say we have an open syllable. This would be ba, baith, and then an Now, if you had the syllable, I don't know, let's see, whatever. But if you have two consonants and some vowel there, and this is one syllable, this is a closed syllable, consonant, vowel, consonant. If the schwa is underneath the last consonant of a closed syllable, it's just silent. You don't pronounce it at all. So this would just be the sound of this consonant and an E, and this wouldn't be pronounced at all. So it's an audible schwa if the schwa is ending an open syllable, but if it's underneath the final consonant of a closed syllable, you don't pronounce it at all. So that's a silent schwa versus a vocal schwa. That's important to mention too. Okay, let's see what time it is. We'll take a break, and then we'll finish number 6, and then we're going to get to actually do some exercises so that we kind of practice some of this stuff and get it firmly down, and that will be good. So we're going to take a break at this time. but it doesn't hurt you to do them all. Sometimes, I know that sometimes like getting a Mac to show up on there can be harder than a PC.
How many online students are there?
300. No. I think we have 2 or 3. What is it, Tim?
Did somebody say something about it, or a Mac?
Yeah, sometimes I know that Macs can be harder to get to show up there.
Apple F7.
Yeah. Oh yeah, F7. Look at that. Wow. Right now, in some of the, like, there's a guy, he's a Bible translator in Lithuania, he's taking it, but the time, he can't watch it live. So right now we have one live distance guy student.
So one is in Lithuania?
Yeah, one is in the Los Angeles area. Yeah. So those are the, yeah, that's good. And there's actually one more guy who expressed a lot of interest who's a missionary in Belize. I don't know if he's going to take it or not. He just found out about it. So maybe we may have Belize as well.
There's a Bible translator who's taking the introductory course.
Well, he knows Greek better. So that's why he wants to, yeah. Because knowing Hebrew is kind of a good thing. They already have a Bible in Lithuania. It just has some problems. He's trying to improve it. Make it more like TR and stuff.
Your mic is live.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Can we get this up here?
I'm working on it.
Okay. Okay, as soon as that goes live up there, we're going to start talking about that. Until it goes live, look at exercise lesson 1A. And you can write them down and do them now if you want. But go ahead and let's verbally divide those words into a few of them into syllables. So that first word there, if any of you want to try to say it, how it would be in syllables. The transliteration kind of help you too, but you can look at either Hebrew or the transliteration. Oh, you don't have do you have the mic anymore? No. Okay, he took the mic away. Well, if you think you have it, you can say it. And then I'll repeat it audibly if you think you haven't. Good. So, sh, ma, a, ni. Open, 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 closed. Good, very good. Tov ma'od. It's sh, ma, a, ni. Yeah. Good. Sh, ma, a, ni. Yeah, it's page 6. How about the one to the right below that? This one's a little bit more tricky. The transliteration kind of help you with it.
I've got to download this for the live stream, so.
Okay, that's fine. Work on the homework a little bit here. Just remember, if it's every syllable begins with a consonant, then a vowel, and if it's closed, it's consonant, vowel, consonant. Otherwise, it's consonant, vowel, consonant, just consonant, vowel. Now, let me ask you this. Look at the translation for a second. Is it wa, ya, da, ba, ru? Or is it way, da, ba, ru? Way, good. So there, that shawa underneath the yod is actually a silent shawa. So that's a closed syllable. It's just way, tha, ba, ru, not wa, ya, da, ba, ru. So, what happened? The pathak and da, that's still there. Oh, that's pronounced. It is, the pathak is pronounced. It's wa, that is, you're pronouncing, or excuse me, I didn't pronounce the yod. Way, dabaru. So you're pronouncing the pathak. Wow, pathak, yod gets pronounced. But the schwa is a silent schwa, so that does not get pronounced. So it's way. The first syllable is way. Next syllable is dab. Next syllable is ba. And then it's a ru. Yes, 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 yes. Pathak with yod is way. And notice the baith, is that a dogash forte or a dogash lene in the baith? If you look at the transliteration, it'll tell you. Forte, there's two of them. Notice there's two B's there. So way, dab, ba, ru. So there you have closed syllable, way, closed syllable, dab, open syllable, ba, open syllable, ru.
Okay, we're ready.
We're ready. Okay, excellent. So let's say about how that thing works. You don't have to forever hold your peace, but you can ask now. All right, great. So please post something on there this week if at all possible. I would like you to do that. I think it'll be I think getting the forum running will help everyone in the class. All right, the last thing we have to learn today is number 6 on Roman numeral 20. 20 and 21. The last thing before he introduces the alphabet. So, my, oh my, oh my, oh my. So he says there on 20, the gutturals and resh do not occur double. The gutturals, remember, are aleph, ayin, hey, and cheth. And if you forget what they are, you can go back to Roman numeral 16, and the 4 gutturals are there, at least the transliteration is. And then you can go to the page where the actual consonants are on Roman numeral 22, 23, and see what is actually there. So he says there, the gutturals and resh do not occur double. In other words, no dagesh inside gutturals or resh. The gutturals are never followed immediately by shawah as well. So the gutturals, now notice he doesn't say the gutturals and resh there, just as the gutturals. The gutturals do not have shawah underneath them, an audible shawah. And so because of those two characteristics, they cause a few changes. So the article before the non-gutturals is hey pathak plus doubling of the following consonant, but because the gutturals and resh can't get doubled, that results in a few changes. And we saw that actually in lesson 2, that because of that, sometimes you have hey comets, sometimes you have hey pathak. And whenever you have a long vowel before a guttural or resh, I'm going to bring the board back here. So here's normal form of the article, hey, pathak plus doubling. And this should just be a dot. So let's say, though, we have a, sure. Tell me when. It's good now? Is that even better? Better? 1 or 2. Can you see the big E? 1 or 2. Okay. That's what they do when you get glasses. So I think 4 eyes are better than 2. Anyway, hey pathak was doubling. Now, if you have, let's say you have aleph here. You can't put a dagesh inside the aleph. So what happens? Well, we talked about this already sometimes. What is it? Yes, the pathak because comets. Now, remember we saw there were certain situations where the pathak changes to a comets. When it does, the name for this he gives you on page 21 is compensatory lengthening. So because you can't stick the dagesh in, this short vowel pathak changes to the long vowel comets. Compensatory lengthening, he tells you that page 21. Then we saw, though, there were certain situations before hey and cheth, the ones that look like hey, where there is no compensatory lengthening. It just stays the same. And this is called virtual doubling. He says that also on page 21. So when you still keep the short vowel, but this is the article, it's as if there was an imaginary dagesh inside, and so it's virtually doubled. So when you have the guttural and the article before it, when it's just the short vowel, this is virtual doubling. Compensatory lengthening, virtual doubling. So pathak stays there with no doubling, virtual doubling. The pathak changes to comets, compensatory lengthening. Also, there on Roman numeral 21, gutturals can result where you would expect a shawah, you can get a hatef pathak instead. So you have the word here, chakam, wise, which is what hopefully you are trying to become. Okay? So here's chakam. All right? Wise man, wise person. Now you stick the ending im on there. Instead of one wise man, now you have several wise people. So the final name, im. Chakamim. Now, now we have a comets in a propretonic syllable. Well, that is a no-no. So what does this comets do? Is the microphone somewhere? Yeah, give her the microphone.
Changes to a shawah.
Good. So it should change to a shawah. But you can't have a shawah underneath a guttural or a resh. So instead of shawah, it becomes a hatef pathak. So it becomes ha-kamim. Think of the hatef vowels, the hatef pathak, the hatef segol, and the hatef comets. Think of them as just a special form of shawah. They're basically shawah with the accepted where you can't put a shawah. So the gutturals and resh, no shawah. So in a situation where you would expect a shawah, it becomes hatef pathak, or in there's certain situations where it becomes a hatef segol and so on as well. But usually it becomes a hatef pathak. That's the most common. And so he tells you that in Roman numeral 21. It's convenient to think of hatef pathak, hatef segol, and hatef comets as varieties of shawah to be used after gutturals. And to see that a word like chalom with a hatef pathak underneath the che has essentially the same vowel pattern as bakor with the actual shawah. So that is important. Then here it says when a word ends with, what are those three letters there in transliteration? You know what those are?
One of them's Greek.
Greek?
No, not Greek.
On the one of them is a quote mark.
Yeah, the first one.
So that quote mark, what letter is that? There's two ones that are quote marks, a open and a close quote mark. Aleph and ayin are the open and close. Which one's the open quote, which one's the closed quote mark?
Aleph is the closed and Ayin is the open.
Good. And the way I remember that is Aleph is the first letter has the closed quote mark. So this is Aleph. And then the upside down open quote mark is ayin. So what he's saying there is when a word ends with ayin, hey or chayth. Ayin, hey, chayth, or hey. One of those three, when it's an actual consonant, and there's a preceding long vowel, one of those long vowels, then he calls this a non-syllabic glide element pathak. There's a much easier name for that, and that's called a furtive pathak. So I would just write in the book there, furtive pathak. What that means is you'll see, I wish you gave an actual example here, a furtive pathak here. I'm going to look up the word luach, tablet, in the glossary in the back. So go ahead and go to the back so you get an example of this. There's probably some of the vocabulary pretty soon, but look at page 322, and you have the word tablet, luach. And that's actually the one that he has the transliteration there on page 21. So find it on 322. I'll write it on the board actually too. Luach. Where is it? Okay, so there do you guys see luach on page 322? Tablet, second column in the middle. It's underneath lechava, flame, lavan, Laban. Okay, you guys found it? All right. And then, so that's that. Now look at the transliteration, which I wish you gave you both the transliteration and the Hebrew, but on page 21. See that little A that's kind of an upper A? That's how you write the furtive pathak. Now here, even though this pathak, you'd think this would be like lu-ha, but you pronounce that pathak before the final consonant there. And so this is actually luach, because that's a furtive pathak, not lu-ha. And this only happens, you only have a furtive pathak when you have a word that ends in ayin, hey, or chayth, and when it has immediately preceding it those long vowels, the long I, E, U, and O. And actually, in the Hebrew text, they put the pathak to the side a little bit, so actually, it's actually pretty identifiable. This is not, you think, oh, this seems very complicated. When you'll actually, the transliteration will tell you, and you'll get used to it, and it's actually not that bad. Like I said, the Hebrew alphabet has all this like complicated stuff, so if you feel like, whoa, all this weird, but you're going to get it pretty soon. You're going to get over the hump here with all this stuff, and it won't be that bad. So furtive pathak, that's just what he tells you about that. And you're going to run it when we run across them. I'll point it out, and you'll get it down soon enough. Then the last thing here, the rule of Shawah, on page Roman numeral 21. Rule of Shawah is if you have this sequence of letters with gutturals, consonant Shawah plus guttural plus hatef pathak changes to consonant plus pathak plus guttural plus hatef pathak. So I'm going to illustrate that just with English letters on here. So here's a consonant. I'm just going to call it consonant X. So there's a consonant there. Consonant has a Shawah underneath it. And it's followed by guttural consonant. I'm just going to call that G. And the guttural consonant has a hatef pathak beneath it. Now remember, we said you can't have two pathaks in a row. And this is just the variety of pathak. So this changes to consonant, X. Consonant pathak plus guttural hatef pathak. So it gets rid of that two shawahs in a row. You can have the same thing with the hatef segol and the hatef comets. So if you had, I'm changing to an olive here. So here's some consonant. It has a shawah, and then it's followed by guttural with a hatef segol. Well, then this pathak, this is like shawah, which is not tolerated. So the schwa changes into whatever this vowel is like. So basically, what this rule is saying is in this sequence of schwa plus guttural with a hatef vowel, whatever the hatef vowel is, the short vowel comes over here. So if you have schwa, hatef, pathak, it changes to pathak, hatef, pathak. If you have schwa, hatef, segol, it changes to segol, hatef, segol. And if you have schwa, hatef, komets, it changes to komets, hatuf, hatef, komets. And that's the last thing here for today. And if I would, with all that stuff there, I very much understand if you're feeling like, whoa, this is crazy. I don't blame you one bit. But the little kids in Israel do learn these rules. And they are able to write. And you will be able to write too very soon. And if you forget one of these, basically what will happen is you'll see, well, why did it do that? You'll be able to go back to this introductory section and see it. And then it won't be that bad. Anybody have any questions about this before we do a few examples, which I think will really help you solidify it in your mind? Okay, good job. Oh, you know what? One more thing we have to do. Go to page 9, vocabulary number 2. I'm not just going to read you the whole vocabulary right now, but I will point out a few things. Again, a great way to learn the vocabulary is to just use it. One thing, actually, did he even introduce that yet? No, he didn't. In 4 through 6, the third vocabulary word, batim, is the irregular plural of the word house. And notice on the Baith, there's a little line to the right, to the left of the comets on batim, the word house. Do you guys see that little line underneath the Baith to the right? Or excuse me, to the left of the comets? Yeah. You say, well, what is that line? That line is what's described on Roman numeral 27. It's a metheg. The metheg is when you have a comets or a tsere where you might not expect it, it gets a metheg. And it's kind of funny. He introduces the vocabulary word when he doesn't expect you to know what a metheg is yet. So, oh well. So I'm not going to say that much about it right now, but just that's a metheg. And if you want to know more about it, you can read Roman numeral 27. We're going to get to that later. But I should point that out if you're thinking, so you actually know what that is. The rest of the vocab is not that bad. I'll point out this will help you learn these 3 words on page 10. Notice the pronouns. You have who, which is he or it, in other words, masculine noun. You have he, which is she or it for a feminine noun. And then me is who. Now it's kind of interesting. He is actually the word she in Hebrew. Okay?
Filipino too.
What is it?
In the Philippines too, because all of our Filipino nurses and doctors always call she's he.
Should give her the microphone. That was an interesting statement. No one will get to hear it. Oh, she hasn't.
In the Philippines, it's that way too, because all of our nurses and doctors call. Now I'm getting confused. She's, he's.
Wow. That could, you better make sure you're putting the stuff right on the chart, though. You know what I mean? That could be a problem. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that about the Philippines. So this is a little way you can remember these 3 words. Me is who, and who is he, and he is she. Okay? I'll write that on the board. And if you remember that, those 3 words at least you will have down. Me is who, and who is he, and he is she. And this is the Hebrew word in each case. So me is what means who is he, and he is she. Of course, it's the actual Hebrew word. So if you look there on page 10, me, the Hebrew word me is who. The Hebrew word who is he, and the Hebrew word he is she. So me is who, and who is he, and he is she. You want to all say that together? Let's say that together. Me is who, and who is he, and he is she. Let's say it one more time. Me is who, and who is he, and he is she. Well, that's pretty crazy. All right. All right, very good. Let's try some of these exercises here. If you look over 1 and 2 and there's something you really want to talk about, we can talk about it right now, whichever one you want. We have, this hour. Oh, we don't have that much time left. We have 15 minutes. But otherwise, I'm just going to pick some. But if there's one you're looking over and you're like, wow, I really want to make sure I get that, we can do that. Right now, let's go to lesson 2. And let's try on the first one there. Let's add the word to let's add the word to in lesson B, to be. Actually, yeah, let's do to be. Okay, to be. Add the plural ending, to be or not to be, to the first one there. This will be an easy one. Gavul, boundary. How would you? And you can write it out. Or you can just say it too. I mean, you will write it out, but right now, just say it. What would that be in a plural? Gavulim. Gavulim. And notice the accent always stays on the ultima, so the last syllable. So gavulim. And so there, it's not that bad. Now, how about the next one? Let's do anan. Cloud. So there, tell me what that would be as a plural. I'm going to write this one out because this one is actually, basically this one is to practice propretonic reduction. So hint, hint. The first one, there was no propretonic reduction because it didn't have a comets or a schwa. Here, so anan. So what should I stick on this anan? What's the ending? Im. So anan. Neem, okay. But can this be tolerated to have a comets? Now this is a comets and a propretonic syllable. So what should it do? Good. It should change to a schwa, but it can't because that's a guttural. Hatef pathak. Ananim. Very good. Tov ma'od. And the answer key guy says mastering this reduction stuff in the early stage will save you much difficulty later. So it's a little bit of a headache now, but it will definitely help you later. How about rachov there, the next one, street? What's the plural for street? Rehovoth, yeah. There's no reduction because there's a schwa in the first syllable. You just stick an oath on there. Rehovoth. How about Nahar, river? So Nahar. Let's see. Nahar. So it's an oath. So we're going to have nahar oath. So there's our ending, the oath. So tell me what vowel to put underneath these letters here. What should I put into this one, Heath? Good. Shawa. Pathak. Is it a pathak or a comet? It's a comet. Nahar. This, it gets pro-pretonic reduction. So nahar changes to naharoth. You don't, there was that, this could theoretically, get a pretonic reduction too, but it doesn't. It will get one or the other. You won't have both done on the same word. It actually was good that we went over this one. And so this is just naharoth. You're not going to have both a pretonic. If it does the one, it doesn't do the other. If it does the one, it won't do the other one.
The pretonic is the syllable before and the pro-pretonic is two before?
Yes, pretonic is the syllable before, pro-pretonic is two before. So nahar becomes naharoth. Good. Let's try one more with a reduction. Try kahal there, assembly. What does kahal become? You take the mic and say what you're going to say. So here's kahal. Okay, so kahal im, and now we have to have a reduction here. If you give him the mic.
The comets under the kof.
Good. The comets
into
goes away. What does it
so-
become?
Sawa.
Shawa. Comets to shawa. So kahalim. Tov ma'od. That's not too bad, is it? Was it? Yeah, that's not too bad. Okay, actually, now A, the point of A here on 2 is to get the stop spirit thing. So if you have Kohen here, priest, do you ever even know any Jewish people named Kohen or Cohen? There was a guy who I know when I was in grade school. His name was Andrew Cohen. I'm not even sure if he's Jewish or not. But that means priest, okay? By the way, you know Hamas? You know how they control the Gaza Strip? Hamas means violence. So that's kind of interesting. That's their name. I wonder what they're for. Okay, here we have Kohen. Kohen. Priest. And we're going to add the prefix lameth to it. Now first tell me this. What is this little dingy dot inside the letter Kaf? What do you call that dot in there?
Dagash.
Is that a Dagesh forte or a Dagesh lene? Lene, she said. Okay, yeah. How do you, the transliteration tells you. Notice there's just one K, Kohen. Okay. Now, let's say we want to say to a priest. What should I do here? What's the word to? He actually gives it to you right there. Yeah, stick the lamed in front. Okay, so here's the lamed. Okay. Lamed shawa. Now we have this would be la kohen. Does this change from being a stop, or does it stay a stop? Or does it change to a spirit? What's the rule? When do you have the stop? One of you go back and read to me the rule about when you have the stop on page. Oh, give her the thing. Give her the thing.
The stop is preceded by the consonant or nothing.
Good. Yeah, beginning of a word with a or just a vocab word just out there, or a consonant. So good. So kohen on its own was a stop. Now, what is the kaf preceded by now? Shawa. So that's a vowel. So does this become stay a stop or change to a spirit?
Spirit.
Changes to a spirit. So this becomes la kohen. Kohen to la kohen. That's basically what you're practicing in this one. So let's say Babylon on the other side. Bavel. Bavel.
I have a question.
Yes.
The k sound.
Sounds pretty similar. Just try to say it a little bit longer. Ka, ka. I mean, it's, I don't know. Just try to say it a little longer. Now, in Bavel right now, why does the first Baith have a Dagesh Lene and the second Baith not have a Dagesh Lene? Why is the first one a stop and the second one a spirit in Bavel? Bavel, rather. Okay, so the first one, the stop, has nothing in front of it, so it's just a stop.
The second one is preceded by a vowel.
Good. The second one, the va, has the commas before it, so it's Bavel. So now let's say we want to go to Babylon. Le Vavel. Ooh, I just gave you the answer tonight. So you put the lamed on it, lamed shawa, and the Baith changes to a spirit. So from Bavel, it becomes Le Vavel. So that's not too bad either. That's basically what that one is kind of making you to see if you get. Let's see. Let's see if we can translate one sentence, and then we will be done. The translation, the Hebrew to English, is easier than the English to Hebrew, but the English to Hebrew does teach you useful things. You have to think things through a lot more in English to Hebrew. But let's translate one sentence here. I was going to do lesson 1 or lesson 2. Let's see. Let's do number 4 in F. Has Sepharim Babayath. So if you think you know that, ask for the mic and you can blurt it out. Of course, it's nice. You only have 2 vocab lessons, so if it's not on page 10 or 9, then it's in the previous one. Oh, give them the mic.
The book at the house.
The book, okay. At the house, you said?
In.
The book in the house.
Is in.
Yeah, there's actually an applied predication. The book is in the house because of what the number 16, the sentences of that adverbial predicate. So the book is in the house, except there's one thing wrong with that. It's not the book is in the house. Sefer is book. This is Sepharim.
Books.
Good,
Plural.
books. So what would this be then?
The books in the house.
Yeah, the books are, implied are, in the house. The books, has Sepharim, are, implied, Babayath, in the house. How do you know that's in the house, not in a house?
Because the ba.
The ba. Yeah, it is. It is because of the ba. It has a pathak there, and the dagesh forte in the next one. Notice in that word Babayath, the first Baith has a dagesh lene because it's preceded by the consonant meme in the previous word. And the second one, Babayath, the second Baith, is a dagesh forte because of the article that got eaten up by the first Baith. And you can see that in the transliteration, Babayath. So good, Tov Ma'od. Well, let's I'm going to wish you the benediction of number 6. And the answer key, don't just look at the answer key, instantaneously, but the answer key has very helpful information for you. So please, as you're trying to do these exercises, use the answer key. The answer key will definitely help you. And do you guys have your Hebrew Bibles with you? Oh, good. So we'll go to Numbers chapter 6, and we're going to read it. Actually, I'm going to read the first 2 verses, and Heath, if you're brave enough, you can read the last one. Yeah, so Numbers 6. It's on the bottom of your homework thing too, your syllabus, course outline. And in English, this is the Lord bless thee and keep thee, the Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee, the Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. So, and let me see if I can help you find the page here. Yeah, remember, it's right to left. And the names of the books, there is a table of contents. The names of the books in Hebrew are based on the first word of each book. So Genesis is Bereshith, because that's the first word. Exodus is Shemoth. And then Leviticus is Wayikra. And Numbers is Bamidbar, in the wilderness. So, chapter 6, 24, 26. It's page 253. Yeah, you're almost there, 253. Remember, it goes reverse. Yeah, okay. 253. Okay, I'm going to read the first 2 verses. Then Heath, you can read the last one there. And if you kind of botch it, that's okay. You don't need to worry about it. All right. I'm going to read it slowly too. Verse 24. Yevarekecha Yehoah v'yishmerecha. That's the Lord bless thee and keep thee. Ya'er Yehoah panai elecha v'huneka. Lord make his face shine upon thee, be gracious unto thee.
My turn?
Yep, your turn.
Yahweh.
Yissa.
Yesa. Wait, where am I? Oh, okay, here. Yesa. Yahweh.
Yehoah.
Yehoah. Panaya.
Panai.
Panau.
Aleka.
Aleka.
Wayasem.
Wayasem.
Pretty good, yeah.
Laka.
Laka.
I can't even tell what that vowel is under there.
It's a comets.
Okay.
Sha.
Lom.
Shalom, yes. Peace. Lord lift his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Very good. Okay, you are dismissed.